Hey family, welcome. Welcome to the live stream tonight. My name is Amy Rose Rewilding. I'm a holistic health practitioner. And tonight I wanted to do a bit of a presentation, something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, something that's through my work with my clients has really helped a lot of people have a better perspective about what's going on, kind of a real bigger picture perspective. So yeah, I'm really going to try to just act as a bridge tonight between logic and logically what's happening in the world, and also spiritually what's happening on the bigger cycle of things. Because I think that when we can really grasp what's going on in the bigger cycle, that we can be better able to live our lives joyfully and be able to withstand some of the things that are going on in front of our eyes right now with the state of the world, because that is the prerogative here is to enjoy life and to find joy, but also be able to look at the darkness and to acknowledge it, and to work to abolish evil in our world today. So hey, raw milk and honey. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the gold. I'm going to give you the honey first, and then I'm going to kind of work backwards and kind of like Quentin Tarantino it. Okay, hold on. Let me add a slide here. Let's see how this works. Okay. Can I move my camera? Okay, hold on one second. Okay, this works. Okay, so guys, this is from the Hindu scriptures. This is the idea of the cycles of consciousness, the cycles of human consciousness, and it's from the Puranas. And essentially, this is what we're looking at on a bigger scale. And so they say that we are currently in the Iron Age, that humanity is currently in the Dark Ages, and there is a little bit of argument as to where in the Dark Ages we are. There's the long count and the short count. But I believe that we are heading out of the Dark Ages, out of the Kali Yuga at the bottom there, the Iron Age. And we are in ascending consciousness, moving up the left side, up into eventually a golden age. Now, this is a big cycle of time. So these are many, many years. So if you're looking at this here now, you can see that the golden age at the top, the Satya Yuga, and Sat stands for truth. It is the truth age, the age where humanity is embodying our truest divine potential, where humans live together in harmony, and we are all able to bring forth our divine gifts in the world and have fun here, and we live by a set of values and morals that are put forth by the universe, essentially, which is natural law. And that's sort of how humans would live their lives in the golden age. They would every action we would take would be measured up against the idea of a certain set of values and morals, which essentially are just love thy neighbor and love thy creator. So just any action that doesn't harm the planet, doesn't harm each other. And in the golden age, I mean, you can imagine what it might be like during that time. And I think I can say for myself, and probably all of you too, that when you were born, you knew that this kind of age was possible, that this kind of, maybe call it idealistic, that it really truly is possible. And I think for a lot of us, it's been hard to look around and see that that's not what we're experiencing, that we're not currently experiencing this kind of potential, this golden age, this truth age. So as you can see, it's a bigger part of the circle. It is like a bigger piece of the pie. And of course, wouldn't we design it that way? Wouldn't we make it so that we could experience the golden ages for quite some time in comparison to, at the bottom, the Iron Age? So as you can see, you have then descending consciousness on the right side of the circle. You have the Treta Yuga, which is silver, so that would be descending consciousness. And then descending bronze, Dvapara consciousness into Kali. So this is when humanity kind of has a fall. When consciousness, anyways, has a bit of a fall. And it's slow, it's not immediate, but we slowly fall into silver and then into bronze and then eventually into an Iron Age. So, if we were to design the perfect simulation and the perfect experience here on Earth, we would want to experience both of these kinds of ages, right? In order to understand and feel and know what a golden age is, we have to experience an Iron Age, an age of distortion, an age of untruth, an age of all of the things that we're experiencing in this time now. So as you can see on the left side of the circle, you have coming out of the Iron Age, you have ascending into bronze consciousness and then into silver. So ascending up out of the Iron Age, and then eventually into a golden age. So they say that we are right on the border of the Iron Age and the ascending Bronze Age. And that what we're, in my opinion anyways, what we're experiencing right now is a rise of this evil essence. Before it was more like behind closed doors, but now it's really coming to the forefront. We're really starting to see it more and be able to experience it more so. And that, I believe, is because when evil is about to lose its grip, it rises and it tries to grasp onto its grip on humanity as it's about to lose its grip, if that makes sense. So, evil rises during this time. And they say that in the Iron Age, that there were ascended masters that came here to help us. So the Iron Age is it's thousands of years long. And here, I'm going to share another slide to give you an idea here. Just give me a moment. Okay, so do you see here how on the left side of the circle, you see it's fading away, and that the next cycle is going to go actually over top of that. So you can actually see this as a cycle of consciousness that is like a corkscrew spiraling up, so that we're not repeating anything here. We are repeating, but we are continually moving forward in our consciousness. So you can see that we go over top and we continue on. And if you can see down here in the Kali Yuga, in the Iron Age, there were ascended masters that came here to help us. You can see Jesus Christ, you can see Buddha, you can see Patanjali and Aristotle, and a lot of the greats. They came here during this time to sort of help us, and Jesus, all of his teachings, helping us to see the light, because it is a really dark time of, like I said, inversion and distortion. But like I said, we are coming out of it. So as you can see, we're just in the present day, 2000 BC. We are coming up out of into the rising Bronze Age. So let me see here. So coming back here, guys. So what is the Iron Age? The Iron Age is said to be where we are no longer turning inward, we're going outward. So that's why there's so much emphasis on materialism and image and looking outside of ourselves for happiness, dependence on our relationships, consumption, materialism, buying things, trying to fill a void inside of us because we've turned outward. We're no longer going inward. They say that there's over-attachment to possessions as well, and the mind is entangled in the outside world. So really not a lot of time spent on inner reflection and on what's inside here, and it's all outward. It's go, go, go. And they've designed it sort of this way as well, the controllers, that they keep us, humanity, in this outward work, very, very little time for rest, very, very little time for self-reflection, and very little time to figure out who is truly controlling us. So as a result, human civilization degrades spiritually. So this is a time when we don't know who we are, and we've forgotten. But that's not everyone. We're all remembering who we are at our own pace, and we're all helping each other along the way as well, which is really beautiful. So people stop following their dharma. So dharma is a term in the Hindu tradition that means your duty. So what your duty is in life, and that's different for everyone. But it's a calling that is it's beyond this world. It's what is it that you are bringing to the world? What is it that you're bringing forth in your own unique way? And it doesn't have to be grandiose, but it's your duty. It's that inner calling, and you know what it is. It's been calling you, So this is definitely a time for those of us that are awake to start following our dharma as much as we can. And so it's also a time where knowledge is lost, and we know that but there are many amazing truthers out there that are uncovering a lot of hidden knowledge, and it's all coming to the forefront now, which is so great. So ignorance of our true nature, greed, materialism, afflictions and maladies of the body and mind. So in the Iron Age, we don't live as long as well. What's our average age? Like 88? 100, maybe the oldest person was maybe like 115, 120 that we know of. But in the golden ages, we live much longer. I've heard any number from like 400 years to like 4,000 years. It's hard to really conceptualize, but let's just say we do live longer, and our bodies don't degrade as quickly as they do here in the Iron Age. And things like disease are really very rare in the golden age, in the Satya Yuga. Hello, Dio. What's up? So, and this is super interesting. It's sort of like a devolution into matter, the Iron Age. And they say that the lowest point of the Kali Yuga could very well be transhumanism. So transhumanism is this idea of merging ourselves with technology and somehow improving upon ourselves, upon our divine design. No, but this is what a lot of people think, that we could be so much better and so much smarter, infinite intelligence with machine. But it's false. It's obviously false. But it's erroneous thinking, because the idea of merging ourselves with machine, it sort of means that we're like afraid of death. And death, I think it's such a beautiful thing to contemplate and understand and think about, like, what is death and what happens, and to just be okay with the fact that it's going to happen to you at some point. So really that transhumanism, merging with machine, is like this idea of being so afraid of death that we want to go towards that. So again, it's ignorance during this time, and learning about the true nature of our lives and this world and this reality and the true nature of death. That will give you that will save you. It'll give you deliverance. Because death is not the end. I truly believe that this is a divine simulation. Simulation is a funny word because I don't want to make it seem less than it is, because it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful divine simulation, and we inhabit these biological bodies. But what's outside of this is just so beautiful and vast. And I believe that when we pass on, we sort of dissolve into the source, and we might graduate to another realm, the astral realm, and then maybe the causal realm, and sort of have a different experience there, where there's still some limitation but less limitation. But that's really, we don't really need to know that. But I think it's important to know that this is a beautiful, beautiful experience, and death is not the end. And to really seize the day and use your time wisely here, to follow your dharma, to figure out what it is that is your individual, unique duty here, and carry that out and bring that out forward into the world. So continuing on. Yes, so I believe, and I'll just repeat myself from before, evil rises when it's about to lose its grip. The controllers of the world have been sitting pretty for these last thousands of years. And the reason why we're seeing so much evil rise right now is because they're about to lose their grip. They know that humanity's consciousness is rising, that it is inevitable, that there's a few of us that are awake, and we're doing our work, we're following our dharma, we're planting seeds with our family and friends, and we're doing our work each and every day, even if it's just a smile to a stranger, just little things like that. It's happening, and humanity's consciousness is rising. It is inevitable. So the controllers of our human society know this, and they know that humanity's consciousness is going to rise. And so this is why we're seeing this sort of haphazard grab for control, because it really does seem sloppy. I don't know about you guys, what you feel like. I think it seems like sloppy, like they've fast-tracked things in order to try to maintain control. And so we are kind of at a choice point in a way where they could grab a couple hundred more years of control if we let them. And so it's neat because we're really writing this as we go. So really important right now to be sharpening your sword, to be preparing spiritually, sharpening your sword by digging into your own stuff and your own behavior patterns, and really looking at that and overcoming it, and overcoming your fears, not letting yourself become complacent and comfortable. It's just individually we all need to evolve a little bit more, and I do believe that collectively, if we're all doing our part, that evil will fall. Apocalypse actually means to uncover. So you could say that maybe we are, coming up onto a bit of an apocalypse, you could say. But here's what this means. So apo means un, and kaleptine to cover. So it's to uncover or reveal. We really are coming up to a big reveal. It's a great awakening. And it's also kind of a great division as well, because you clearly have some people in your life, I know I do, that they're just, you think that they were, you thought that they knew, that they had this kind of level of awareness, but then their actions and this big test on humanity, it's really showing who is who, and so it's the great divide as well as the great uncovering and the great awakening. So you can see this description right here. An apocalypse is a disclosure or a revelation of great knowledge in religious and occult concepts. An apocalypse usually discloses anything very important that was hidden. As Bart Ehrman says, a vision of heavenly secrets that can make sense of earthly realities. So I think, we are going to truly start to understand what the true nature of this reality is. If you are someone who has ever experienced anxiety, or has ever experienced, or even just dipped your toe into depression, I just want to say to you, you are the healthy one, because you've been able to see this. You've been able to actually see and look around and go, something isn't right here. And I don't know what it is, but everyone is under some kind of spell. And then they might look at you and almost gaslight you and go, it's okay. Life is hard, and it's full of injustices and all of this, and they're like, that's just the way it is, and it's like, that is one way of kind of carrying on and accepting it, I guess. But I think it's more important now that we really look at this and we say, we know that life can be so much better here, and no longer be gaslit and say, well, you're an idealist, you're the healthy one, essentially, is what I'm saying. It's one way of accepting it, essentially. And but we are headed into a time where people are starting to really understand this stuff. So it is an exciting time. Let's see. I had a thought there and it kind of just flew out of my mind. Give me a second here. Hello, everyone. Toxicity equals depression. Yes, that's true. So the controllers of our world. So a lot of people who have never really looked into conspiracy theories and never really contemplated this stuff and never really looked into this, they would say, you're ridiculous. There's no controllers that are evil, controlling things, Yeah, there's corruption in politics and government, but it's just human folly, and there's no driving force behind. No, you're crazy. There's no, evil satanic controllers in the middle of things. We all probably heard of people saying those kind of things to us, maybe, I don't know, or someone that believes that, where they're just like, no, it's really not that, it's actually just, human folly. But the thing is that, yes, part of it is human folly, because we are very programmable. Humans are very programmable. We're almost like computers, but we're not computers, but we're programmable like computers. And there have been all of these agendas since the day we were born that have influenced us in such a way where we wouldn't know about the controllers, where we wouldn't find them out. It's crazy, because it's such a refined system, the way that they have brainwashed and influenced us. But it's all falling apart now, which is really great. So I'm going to share another slide with you guys here. Now, so this is interesting. So when we talk about the controllers and who controls human society, this is kind of from David Icke. So he talks about a spider in the middle of the web, and that the spider is the controllers, the evil, satanic controllers. And guys, whether they are human or not, that the jury is out on that. They could very well be another species, and personally, I think that they are another species. And I'll read to you guys a little excerpt from the Gods of Eden to kind of bring that one home. But okay, so David Icke says that the spider in the middle, these are the satanic controllers. And then everyone out from the spider are humans, for the most part, or hybrids, that just take orders from the person above them in the web. So only the people directly around the spider know of the spider's existence. And then everyone out from there, they are just order takers. Everyone just takes orders from the person above them, doesn't ask questions. I'm just doing my job, Oh, this order, it just came from upon high, and I'm just going to carry out this order. So, when you see politicians on the TV and, doctors, and they're all talking and they seem like they really care, right? Well, for the majority, they are good humans. They're just heavily indoctrinated and brainwashed, and they don't see. So when you're looking at, you know, the TV and you see the politicians, you see the so-called experts, and you're like, some people will say, well, as if Doug Ford could be someone who could like think of this diabolical plan, and of course he didn't. It comes from this complex structure of control from the center. So all of the politicians and all of the order takers, they're just order takers. They're just, I'm just doing my job, and you know, and even if it is against their moral code and they do it anyways, you know, they're just like, well, I got to feed my family, and so on and so forth. So you can really imagine what would happen if everyone in the world woke up and was like, I'm not going to do anything that is against my moral code and my value system. The whole structure would fall apart. So that's kind of gives you an idea of sort of how this control structure does works. So thinking about the spider in the middle of the web. Yeah. So another thing too is very interesting that one of my mentors, kind of teachers, he doesn't know he's my mentor, but Mark Passio, he's an interesting guy. You should definitely check him out. His website is whatonearthishappening.com. I agree with like majority of what he says, not everything, but he says, who has more moral culpability, the order follower or the order taker or giver? The order giver or the order follower, who has more moral culpability when it comes down to the end of it, and you're going to be, say, judged for your life and the actions that you took, and you, I don't know, you're a police officer, you work in the army, and you know, who has more moral culpability? Who has maybe more spiritual consequences on their back? The order follower or the order giver? Well, he says it's the order follower, because we all have free will here and we can all say no. So I mean, of course, the order giver has some moral culpability, of course, but they say that the order follower has more. So that's kind of something interesting to contemplate. So who are the controllers of the world? You know, a lot of people, they say, well, it's, I don't know, I don't have all the time in the world to go into so many different rabbit holes. So I just try to extract the information that I need to kind of go forward in my life. So we could get lost talking about archons. We could talk about lizards. We could talk about all of these things and try to figure out, who are they? Who are the controllers? That we're kind of getting lost in some detail. Because we may never really truly know. I mean, we eventually will, because we'll get into the Satya Yuga, the truth golden age. But right now, kind of need to just focus in and acknowledge that there is a control structure, that there is a satanic, evil something that is controlling human society. To quote Amanda Vollmer, it's not of a human heart, this entity. A lot of people say that they're astral parasites and they don't actually inhabit a corporal body. And that's a possibility. I mean, but anyways, let me read this to you. This is from this book, The Gods of Eden. I did a little short YouTube video on this. You can check it out. So this was written by a man named William Bramley, and he set out to really discover why humans go to war with each other, and what's at the heart of humans' desire to war. And he hypothesized, well, it's greed and this and that. So he ended up diving into looking at the history, and he found something totally different than what he hypothesized. So, and he really risked his whole career coming out with this book and giving his hypothesis and giving his theory on human civilization and what's going on Earth. So I'll read this to you. It's just a paragraph. So he says, human beings appear to be a slave race languishing on Earth. As such, the human race was once a source of labor for an extraterrestrial civilization and still remains a possession today. To keep control over its possession and maintain Earth as something of a prison, that other civilization has bred never-ending conflict between human beings, has promoted human spiritual decay, and has erected on Earth conditions of unremitting physical hardship. This situation has existed for thousands of years, and it continues today. Erected conditions on Earth of unremitting physical hardship. So now, of course, we can get into the conversation of saying, well, some people live in privileged countries and they don't have this unremitting type of physical hardship, right? And that's absolutely true. But when we really look at things and we look at the way things are, and for example, because this is the example that I can speak to because I live in North America, you have, for example, homes, right? Homes, which is just brick and mortar, some cement and some wood on some land. And homes are costing like $500,000, $1 million. Like it's insane to think that there isn't some kind of corrupt control structure that's keeping humanity in slavery. I mean, where have you been? Like, look around, you know? If the government was really out for the good of all and all of our tax dollars really went to really good things, then do you think that there'd really be people having to work 3 jobs and still not really able to even see their family and raise their children just to try and maybe buy a house in like with a 40-year mortgage and like maybe scrape by? Like it's all you really need to do is look around and pay attention, and you'll see that there really is something it has sort of poisoned human society. And again, we can get lost in who this is and what planet they came from and who they are, but I think it's just really important that we do acknowledge it. And I will say, side note, some people in the New Age community might say, well, you know, I don't want to acknowledge the evil. I don't want to acknowledge that because, well, that gives it energy, and that's not what I want to do. I don't want to give negative force energy, so I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to focus on the positive. And that is one of the biggest New Age deceptions, and that's put there by the controllers because they don't want you to act. They just want you to observe. Just observe evil and don't do anything, and don't act. Definitely don't act. Just meditate. So yeah, we do have to acknowledge this, or else we're never going to change it. Yeah, what we're seeing in the world today is well beyond just human folly. There is controllers at the center of this, and they are doing great acts of evil against humanity. So yeah, but have faith, because I do believe that we are coming out of this. And whether, you know, things could get really chaotic, as you know, the inflatable paper money system, it's very fragile. I think it doesn't even make sense. How can it really continue on? So it's possible that with the economy stopping and just this huge COVID scamdemic, that the that the economy could very well really collapse, and there is a possibility of things being extremely chaotic and food being scarce, and just worldwide economic collapse. It's definitely possible, and of course none of us want to live through that kind of thing. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but that is possible. And if it does get to that, you know, I truly believe that our souls knew what we were getting into when we decided to come here and decided to incarnate into these bodies, that we knew exactly what we were signing up for. We knew that we would come during this time of just chaos in this point in history. And I think that we have everything that it takes. We are warriors. We are here and we're not going anywhere. And like I said, this is a time to be preparing spiritually and sharpening your sword and, letting go of all the stuff that we're holding on to that we don't need to be holding on to. Like just letting go on every single level. Yeah. But we have everything that it takes. I believe that everything that comes to us, that we have what it takes. It's really asking us to step up and, and step into our greatest potential. That reminds me of, I know a lot of people who, have just had children and they see the world and they're like, wow, like I feel so bad for my young kid to have to come into this. But I wouldn't look at it that way. I really wouldn't, the children that are coming in right now, they know what they're getting into. They do. And they have everything that it takes, and they are even more advanced than us. It's just a natural thing that Mother Nature would do, that each generation would be more advanced, maybe spiritually, with different perspectives, and they have everything that it takes to get through this. The world is going to be vastly different than anything that we might have anticipated for ourselves. So any mothers that are like feeling uneasy, like I would just really say, your child is a warrior. He or she has come into this world and knows exactly what they're getting into and has everything that it takes. And, we're going to shift things, right? We're probably going to be homeschooling a lot more. There's going to be different schooling, different education that's really going to give children the skills they need for the future, which, depending on how things are going to go, I truly believe that we should all be coming together in community and getting onto farms and getting self-sustainable, because there is going to be a splitting probably as well for a time. But yeah, I think that we really do have a choice here with how things are going. So we can start to visualize really where we want to go and the kind of lives that we do want to lead. Learning what it means to truly be human, like growing our own food and really figuring out where that comes from, and living in community. The way that we live right now, like in cities, just like two people and a kid, or a couple kids in a condo, in a box in the sky, separated from everyone else in the building. Nobody knows each other. People barely know their neighbors. I don't think that's how we're supposed to live. We are supposed to live in community. And that reminds me of a story, and this kind of brings things together as well, as far as acknowledging that there is this sort of usurping force on humanity. And this comes from Paul Chek. This is a mentor of mine, someone I learned holistic health from. He has one of the most well-rounded systems in the world for holistic health. And he said that there was a tribe that was studied, and they were completely removed from society. And he said that if everyone every single day did their chores, did what they needed to do, all of the adolescents, the adults and the elders, everyone did their chores every single day. Everyone only had to work for 4 hours, like 3.5, 4 hours. And the rest of the time was spent in leisure. It was spent looking after the children. It was spent just sitting and gazing at nature and philosophizing. Spent singing and dancing and just being. Human beings are meant to just be. So when you look at that small example of a tribe where it's cohesive and everything is taken care of and everyone's needs are taken care of and everyone only works 3.5 hours a day because they're working together, then they have all that time for leisure to be actual humans. And that's what makes humans healthy, is to live the way that we're meant to. When everyone's living in this fight or flight, rat race, 40 plus hours a week, 3 jobs, no time to really raise your children, that's when we see problems. So if you ask yourself, if someone says, the government isn't doing this, and the government loves us, and there's no controllers at the center of this, then just think about that example, about the example of the tribe. Like, if the government really cared about us, then would we really all have to be working crazy hours, not being able to raise our kids properly, that houses would cost millions of dollars, that there's the examples are endless. The controllers, they fabricate scarcity in every which way. We can have heaven on earth here. We absolutely can. But humans have been influenced and used and usurped and brought into this false debt slave system that we can't break out of. So, in order to create something new, it does have to fall. So if we do see something fall and we do see a time of great chaos, know that that's a rebirthing process, and birth is never pretty. It's painful and it hurts, but it's better on the other side. So when people say, I can't wait till it gets back to normal, personally, I don't think that normal was good enough. I think that we can create something a hell of a lot better. Yeah, something new, please, exactly. Before creation comes destruction. That's right, Dio, yes. And I think the sooner that we just kind of accept that, and knowing that we have everything that it takes, no matter how hard it gets, if it does get really hard, we have everything that it takes, and this is like the greatest story ever told, and we get to live it, and it's fucking beautiful. And these are just the most exciting times to be alive, because we're changing it, and this evil force is falling. It's inevitable. You can see it everywhere. The censorship, like even small accounts are getting censored. But know that it's inevitable. It's darkest before the light. That's right. Yes. I love your comments, guys. Yeah, so it is such a wild ride. But yeah, this is like the most beautiful story ever told. And keep doing what you're doing. All the truthers out there, even if you're not really at a place where you can come out online and talk about things or share posts, you're a little bit too afraid yet. If you just have a small circle of friends, a small circle of influence, try to talk to them. It's literally so tiny, what you need to do, what everyone needs to do. And it's different for everyone. It doesn't have to be grandiose for everyone. So it's about planting seeds. Critical mass theory, right? Also known as, what do you call it? The 100th monkey, where we just need a certain amount of the population to wake up in order to influence the rest of the population. So, and it's like critical mass. Critical mass is like a chemistry term, I'm pretty sure, where it's unstoppable at that point. So, it's like these little lights throughout humanity are waking up to the truth, waking up. And just by way of a certain amount of us waking up, then we affect the collective consciousness of everyone, of all humanity. And then all of a sudden, your neighbor who was, kind of a bit of a zombie before is all of a sudden like, holy shit, there's evil controllers controlling our world. And I'm telling you guys, there's going to be people who are going to absolutely lose their mind. There will be. We're going to see that. So sharpen your sword. Stay strong. Stay grounded to the earth. Stay connect in with the elements. Connect in with the sun, with the earth, with the water. All of these things, because it's probably going to get a lot weirder. It's just going to keep getting weirder until it starts to make more sense, because it will. It will make more sense. This could be the beginning of a totally new world. Yes, Soph Prats. Just planting seeds, being joyful. That's right. Yes. Yeah, so, yeah. What else? I guess the message I really want to bring forth is if anyone is like waking up every morning and just bummed to be here, and they're like wanting to check out, and maybe they're thinking about ending their life, and they're thinking about like, I don't want to be here anymore. You know, your role is so incredible here, and there's no need to go anywhere. This experience it's not all that there is. It's beautiful and important and divine, but yeah, it's going to be a wild ride, but your soul knew what you were getting into when you came here. So, you know, keep answering the call, that little voice inside of you that keeps nagging you to say more and to do more, and to maybe even just look at your shit, you know, like answer that voice, answer that call. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, sometimes I like to think of it like, if this reality was like truly a video game and truly like a simulation, and you were to choose an avatar before coming in here, you know, you can kind of choose, I'm going to be female, and I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be the daughter of so-and-so, and I don't know, you know, like, I really believe that we can kind of choose a lot of that stuff. And we can also choose easy, medium, or hard. So if you're someone who's had a lot of like adversity in your life, and you're like, damn, I don't know how much more I can take, right? Or maybe you do see the value of it, and you see how strong it's made you. You know, just think about that. Like, maybe I actually chose to have this level of adversity and to go through this so deeply so that I could come out on the other side with this deep character and this like this toolkit of like how to be a human and how to live beautifully and courageously. Something that a friend of mine, we talked about was, I think it was a concept from a book he was reading, but it's this idea that, hold on, let me get this light. Okay. It was this idea that desire is what holds this all together, what holds this whole reality together. Desire. We are desiring experience. We want to experience all of it, the whole spectrum of human emotion. Even like depression, right? Like when you're in the middle of your darkest night of the soul, and you have hit complete rock bottom, and you're like, I don't want to be here. What the, like, this is the worst. And you, even in that moment, you could never really conceptualize it, but you desire that experience. You desire that depth of like frustration and depression and anger and just hopelessness and powerlessness. You have on some level desired that for perhaps the lesson that's on the other side of it, and for perhaps that sort of rising phoenix up out of the ashes where you become stronger out of it. I mean, what's more beautiful than that? This earth is a learning ground. It absolutely is. And to keep learning, keep going. Even if it gets crazier. Connect with those people in your life. I mean, we're so lucky to have this community online where we can connect with real people. They might not be with us in the physical, but they're real, and they're on the other side of this screen, and they have the same feelings as you do. So you're not alone. We have everything that it takes. And the truth is starting to prevail. People are waking up. There's so much great knowledge out there. There's so many great leaders that are leading the way. Wow. Mark Passio, Tom Barnett, Dr. Thomas Cowan, Amanda Vollmer, Dr. Andy Kaufman, Matt Belair. Oh gosh, who else? There's just so many people, and I'm so inspired by them. I've never been more inspired in my life than seeing these people, risk so much, their reputations, all these things to really bring the truth out there. So it is happening. Know that, and that you're not alone. So let's see. Just reading through some of your comments here, guys. Clearly we're doing the boss battle difficulty. That's right. We're battling the boss battle difficulty. Yeah. Yeah. It's just mega beautiful though. Yeah. But this evil force, it's dying. And that's what we're seeing. And we're going to see a lot of just weird things happen as this force shrivels and dies. Because, some people could say that our fear is their sustenance. So when we learn the truth and we remove our fear, because that's what the truth does, it just removes fear, then they don't have anything. They don't have any sustenance, and they can't control us. So working to remove all of your fears in all the ways they present themselves in your life is part of sharpening your sword, is part of the work. That's right. Yeah. What else did I want to touch on, guys? The controllers. Who are they? The End of All Evil. This is an amazing book by Jeremy Locke. I had this printed at Staples, and you can find it online for free. It is a ebook, and it's so good. It's so good, you guys. It's so simple, and it talks about what it means to be human, to truly know the value of our worth. Our worth is infinite. And that there is a force, some kind of authority, this violent force that has been controlling humanity for a very long time. And it's almost like a transmission. It's very simple, and you just read through it. You read through it, and it's almost like it unlocks something in you. So I definitely highly recommend The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. So again, you guys, it is a spiritual war that we're in. And they've done this through so many different ways. The food, the air, the water. So a big part of this is keeping your body and your vessel healthy and making sure that you are, all the things, right? Drinking the purified water, buying organic food as much as you can. If it's not organic, if you can at least get it from a local farmer, because if his family eats that food, you can pretty much, bet that it's pretty good food, because the organic designations do cost quite a bit a year, and there's a lot, in that. But find the highest quality food that you can, because they've been trying to damper our spiritual consciousness rising for many years via the slow kill, which is chemtrails, toxins in our water, of course fluoride, but there's so many other things in water, copper sulfate, the things they use to clean it that, calcifies our pineal gland, gives us disease, all of those things. So, investing in those water purifiers, buying that organic food, connecting with local farmers, finding grass-fed, local pastured meat, and mitigating EMFs as much as possible too. I know these devices, we're very connected to them, and sometimes we feel we need to be so connected, but they are affecting our health too. So taking those social media breaks, taking breaks from the laptop and all the screens, and not putting iPads right on your body, and not putting laptops or cell phones right on your body, putting your bare feet on the ground, grounding into the ground. The earth takes all of that, all of the EMFs, and kind of digests it, takes it out of our body. So keeping your physical vessel really strong, working through all of the stuff, all of the fears, going into the fear cave. The cave that you fear to go into is the one that holds everything for you. So going towards your fears. And working to have the cleanest body that you can. I know that it's hard. I know every time you see a streak in the sky, it's like, damn, they're getting us in every which way. But the more that we raise our vibration and clean up our bodies, the more that we can kind of not absorb that and be in sort of a different state that it doesn't affect us as much. So yeah, we're coming near to the end of the live stream now. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This is just a message that I really wanted to share so much, is that we are coming out of the Kali Yuga at the bottom, the Iron Age. For those of you joining now, this is what I talked about at the beginning of the video. Consciousness is rising. We can experience a golden age at some point. Will we do it in our lifetime? I don't know. Maybe. If everyone wakes up and we're all vibing high, then we could just go, okay, now. And we're going to experience it now. But we're at a choice point right now, guys. We're all writing this story as we go. So guys, I love you so much. I am available if you know anyone that is really struggling and needs some help with getting their body on track, getting their spiritual perspectives on track. Reach out. I do have some space in my calendar for some new clients, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So thank you guys so much for joining, and please leave a comment if this video helped you. I love you guys so much. I will see you next week. Bye.